Making large-scale urns is so much fun because of the wow factor. These big arrangements stop people in their tracks when they see them. And the great thing is that even if you're a beginner, you can make these with just a few simple design techniques. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make a large urn in a garden style, nothing stiff, nothing stuffy, with a floral mechanic that is not floral foam. And I'm going to talk you through how I choose my vase, how I choose my mechanics, and how I choose my flowers. My name's Ellen Frost. I'm the owner of Local Color Flowers, and I've been a florist for over 15 years. I write a weekly newsletter all about flowers, and I'm building a community of flower nerds online. Now that I've chosen my vase, I want to choose my mechanic. And I'm going to use this is the Holly Chapple egg. I'm going to use this as my mechanic today. So no floral foam. You could also use a piece of chicken wire and just form it into this shape. I love this egg because it is pretty sturdy. It's reusable and washable. And because the vase is clear, I don't want to put it inside the vase because I don't want it to show. So I'm going to sit it just at the top of my vase and I'm going to tape it in. This is some 1/4 inch waterproof tape that I'm going to use to tape it in. I'm all taped in. I've got my Holly Chapple egg on top here and I'm ready to start designing. So the first thing I'm going to do in designing my arrangement is to start to put in my foliage. And I'm going to weave this right into the holes in the Holly Chapple egg. And I've got my stems nice and clean already. And what my foliage is going to do is start to build the shape of my arrangement. So I'm going to use this to create a very natural, very loose, very garden style arrangement. So I'm starting off with smoke bush and I'm using that to help create my shape. The next element that I'm going to add into my design is what I would call a secondary flower. So today I'm going to be using campanula. And campanula is great for arrangements like this because it has a lot of mass, it's really fluffy, and it's also really tall. So I'm going to be using this both to fill in my arrangement, but also to help create the shape that I'm looking for. And that shape is really a natural style. I don't want anything to feel too tight. I want it to feel very picked from the garden. So I'm going to fill in with a lot of this lavender campanula. And as I'm putting it in, some of these stems are going inside the mechanic and some are going outside of the mechanic. It doesn't really matter at this point as you're filling in whether it goes inside or out, because you've created enough of a base now that your flowers are not going to really move out of place. And remember, we're thinking big scale here, so don't be afraid to keep your stems nice and long, nice and fluffy, so that you're really getting the mass that you're looking for. The next thing I'm going to add in are my line flowers. And when you're choosing flowers for an urn like this, you really need to be thinking about things with a lot of height. So these Delphinium are perfect for this kind of urn because they are really tall and they have some really great height. And I want to leave them nice and tall. I like this curve right at the top of the unbloomed stems. I'm going to use a second line flower today. This is foxglove. And foxglove is really fun because it does have these really interesting cup-shaped flowers on them. And in those cups they have very fine polka dots, which make for a really fun element in an arrangement. Next, I'm going to put in my focal flowers. You really want to make sure that your arrangement is very full before you put your focal flowers in so that they stay in place and you can really gauge how they're going to look against the rest of the arrangement. So today I'm using some yellow lilies, and these are great because they have a lot of height. They also just have like a really nice color to contrast with this sort of cool blue and purple. I'm going to leave some of them a little bit longer, and I'm going to cut some of them a little bit shorter. The next thing I'm going to put in is a little bit of filler. Now this arrangement you can see is very full, so it's not that you need to fill in any space, but I do like to have a little bit of smaller bits of color. This is just some statice. This is some blue statice that I'm going to use to add a little bit more color to my arrangement. And I'm just going to sort of evenly distribute that throughout for just another little pop of color. As I'm getting closer to the end, I want to make sure that my mechanics are nice and covered and that the edge of my arrangement, you can't see any of the tape or any of the other things holding flowers in place. I want to make sure that those are all nice and covered. The last tip that I want to share with you about making a large scale arrangement like this is that sometimes when we order flowers, we can't order them with the longest stems that will fit into this arrangement. Sometimes we want to include beautiful stems that are just shorter, too short to fit in an arrangement like this. So there's a tip that you can use. I'm going to use a water pick. So I have these poppies here, and these poppies are great, but they are too short and they'll get lost in here if I try to stick them in. So I've got it in the water pick, and I'm just going to take a plain wood skewer that you can get at the grocery store, and I'm going to attach it to the pick to make an extension. So basically I'm going to take what was maybe a 10-inch poppy, and I'm going to turn it into a 24-inch poppy. So I've got my water pick, I've got my skewer, and then I'm just going to use some floral tape to tape these together. But now I have made an extender and a water source. So this flower is not going to be in the water in the vase, it's just going to stay in the water pick. And I'm going to be able to now use these poppies in my arrangement. And you can do that with a few of them so that you can, and if you need to adjust the height, you can always just trim the skewer and include these into your design. I love doing this because it really does add versatility. Oftentimes I'll find myself being stressed out that my stems are too short, and this extender technique really does give you a lot more flexibility and a lot more options when you're working with shorter stems. All right, so here it is, a large scale urn arrangement that you can use at home or for a special event. I hope you'll give it a try, and like I said, if you want to see all of the flowers that I used and the price of each of those stems, I left a cost and materials list in the link in the notes. Thanks so much.